is Eric Johansson. We'll also be changing the order of the items on the agenda to have the director's report and staff comments come before the items on the calendar, because a couple of us have to recuse ourselves towards the end, and we're going to make it convenient for us. Welcome everyone, and let's start with a roll call, please.
Commissioner Christensen? Here. Commissioner Newman?
Here. Commissioner
Root?
Here.
Commissioner Westman? Here. Chair Wills?
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all. Okay, moving on to oral communications. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
A couple of items to note. For item 6B, this is the Toro Bravo sidewalk dining. The applicant did make a change that was sent to the Planning Commission. There's an enclosure, and the enclosure changed from press material to redwood. And then for item 6E, 401 Capitola Tap House, received a letter from the applicant after the packet went out, which was sent to the Planning Commission, and then today, before 5 o'clock, email, which is also sent to the Planning Commission. We've got all of these items at the back page as well.
All right, very good, thank you. Okay, let's move on to item 2B, public comments. This is an opportunity for members of the public to come to the podium and address the commission on items that are not on the agenda. So if you have other issues that are not on the agenda tonight, but you think should be issues that should be aired, now is your opportunity. You have 3 minutes to do so. Anybody on Zoom?
I attendees, but nobody stands.
Okay, we'll move on then to commission comments. Now's your time for the commissioners to speak on items not on the agenda.
I do.
Go ahead, Mr. Newman.
So, since I'll be leaving early this meeting, and this is probably my last meeting, I just want to say that it's been a real pleasure working with all of the commissioners and the staff over the last year or 2 years. It's been a great experience, and thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Anyone else?
We have one more meeting, Ed.
We do?
Yeah. When we get sworn in, or the new commission gets sworn in.
Oh.
Well, if we don't have an opportunity to thank everybody at that meeting, I'll take this opportunity to thank members of the Planning Commission for your community service and the time you spent on this. It's kind of a thankless job, but actually can be a lot of fun, and I think it really serves a genuine community service. So I appreciate working with all of you, and hopefully we'll do so again in the future.
Sounds good. We'll look forward to it.
Okay, how about the director's report?
A couple of items here. So I think at the last meeting, Director Hurley was going to bring forward a report about the city tree, just about on the approval. So that is taking a little longer than expected. Meeting. And we've also placed in front of you a calendar for 2023 year, casting the regular meetings. This item is really an FYI for the commission and council hasn't adopted the calendar formally. It's good for the next year. If you have feedback, we'd love to hear it. But the one item that's pending is the council is looking at maybe taking a summer break. And I wanted to take this opportunity to we have one consent calendar item, 121 Cabrillo Street. At the public counter, we had a neighbor come in say they wanted to potentially speak on the item or submit a letter. None of that happened. I don't know if they're here. I just wanted to.
We'll give them the opportunity to pull it if they're here.
Pause during that item.
Okay, very good. To move on then to item 4, approval of minutes. There are 2-minute items. Anybody want to make a motion to approve both of them or pull one of them? Comment on one of them.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of October 20th and November 3rd.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Could we have a roll call vote then?
Commissioner Christensen? Aye. Commissioner Newman?
Aye.
Commissioner Root?
Aye.
Commissioner Westman?
Aye.
Chair Wolf?
Aye. Minutes are approved. Item 5 is the consent calendar. We have one item, as mentioned, 121 Cabrillo Street. Does anybody wish, either here in the audience or on Zoom, wish to pull that item? Commissioner Wood?
I don't wish to pull the item, but I did notice on this item, there's a second-story deck as part of construction of this house, and I wondered if staff could just give us the dimensions of how far that deck is from the various property lines, and would it conform to our new footprint that we talked about at the last meeting for having a second-floor deck?
I'm not sure it would comply with all the objective standards created in that pending change. I can tell you that this deck is somewhat recessed. I have a couple slides on we can pull up as well, if you just want to look at that quickly before the item comes through. I would say that at a minimum, it's 20 feet from all property lines, including the side and the rear, 28 feet from the north side, 21 feet from the south side, and then 20 feet from the rear. So it's well in excess of any required setback.
All right, thank you for that information.
You okay with
I'm
being on the
okay with
consent
that.
agenda? Okay, and no comments on Zoom or in the audience to pull it. Let's go ahead and hear a motion if anybody wishes to move to approve the consent calendar. Anyone?
I'll so move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay, a motion by Commissioner Newman, a second by Commissioner Christensen to approve the consent calendar. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Christensen? Aye. Commissioner Newman?
Aye.
Commissioner Root?
Aye.
Commissioner Westman?
Aye.
Chair Wolf?
Aye. The consent calendar approved unanimously. We'll move on then to public hearings. These are items where we have the opportunity for the public to discuss each item individually. We have 5 items, which we'll discuss in order, one at a time. The idea is we'll start with a staff presentation. We'll have the Planning Commission get a chance to question the presentation and get clarification on what exactly the applicant is looking for. At that point, item 3 will have a chance for the public to comment, where you'll come up to the podium or raise your hand on Zoom. We will have 3 minutes to make your comment. There'll be no dialogue. It's a comment, and then we'll absorb those comments one at a time. And then after that, we will go to our deliberation and finally a decision. So let's start out with item 6A, 2210 Derby Avenue. We have our staff presentation.
Good evening, Commissioners. Chair Wolf. The application before you is for a design permit and minor modifications to construct first and second story additions to an existing residence at 2210 Derby Avenue. The project is located in the North 40s neighborhood in the Claire's Court subdivision. This is part of the R1 zone, by the way. The existing residence as it appears today is a single-story, single-family home. Proposed site plan Project adds 780 square feet of first and second story space to the residence, which complies with the maximum floor area ratio of 48%, for a total of 2,228 square feet. Proposed parking arrangement, as shown above, will be discussed subsequently at the plan modification section. Front, existing and proposed elevations, existing. The remodel includes stucco and stone veneer, gable and valley roof, and composite shingles. Additions are designed to blend with the existing residence and local design. This is the rest of the elevations here. These are the elevations. Existing proposed. The project increases the overall floor area by more than 10%, which is why parking must come into compliance. The existing spaces shown here are substandard in terms of both width and length. On average, they come out to 9 feet wide by 19 feet 3 inches deep. This project would only be required to provide one covered parking space, but given that it's a two-car garage, the applicant is requesting a minor modification for both spaces, both existing spaces. Each dimension is less than 10% substandard, and therefore the minor modification request is eligible here. Our staff analysis on findings A through C at the next year on the subsequent slide. In relation to the minor modification request, staff was able to make supportive findings for the minimum covered parking dimensions. We go through these one by one if you don't like, and have the findings themselves on the slide and pull up. F. Proposed additions to exceed 10% of the existing floor area, like I mentioned before. The existing garage space is less than 10, required 10 foot by 20 foot, which is required for garage spaces. Because the existing covered spaces deviate, consent is eligible, covered. That's got all mixed up here. That's really all there is here. I put verbatim these findings included in the staff report above. This is a similar request to the previous one here at 216 Central Avenue. The main considerations for why the request is relevant to the existing site or use or structures is a combination of the fact that this home was developed under development standards that were not city of Capitola. This was developed and constructed prior to the subdivision incorporation of the city of Capitola. So that's the first one. And the second one would be that in order to make compliant spaces in this situation, they would actually need to demolish not just the rear wall, but the interior side wall, which would affect the elements of the laundry room, kitchen, dining room, and the exteriors on the front and rear of the house. Even if they were to try and only make one compliant space, they would still need to demolish the rear wall. That was the keystone finding. So, as I mentioned before, staff was able to make supportive findings on all A through F, and with that, we're recommending approval of the application.
Questions of staff?
I
Commissioner?
just have one. Did we get any comments from any of the adjacent neighbors about the new two-story windows?
No, we do not.
Thank you.
I have a question. Has the applicant been made aware of the 15% canopy coverage?
I believe that was discussed earlier on when we looked at landscaping as a whole and clarified what was being done to the site. At this time, the applicant's only looking to modify the landscaping and driveway as necessary. So there's likely going to have to do some improvement to the driveway. The first-story additions are going to affect some of the front yard because it's expanding forward a bit. But beyond that, they're proposing to keep the front and rear landscaping as is, and not planting or planting trees. The existing canopy coverage, is about 15%. But typically, we don't require that element to be met when we're not looking at new development or new units.
Is that true? I thought we had, if you had a major modification needed to meet the 15% requirement.
There's two different sections on it. In Chapter 12, which is the city's street trees, it does require us to do an analysis of the percentage of canopy coverage, and then the zoning ordinance required to look at it, require it when there's a major project. So in this case, I actually ended up doing a evaluation of the canopy, and it was just under 16%, and they're proposing no change, so I think they are compliant, but usually we would required to analyze it, but we're required to make it a condition.
So the only reason I bring it up is that I think if this is a remodel and they do plan on maybe taking that tree down at some point, that they should be aware that there is a 15% canopy coverage, so that if they want to take that down and just put in a bunch of ice plant, they need to consider trees or ask for an exception. And since they're not doing that, it won't be an issue, but it should be in the back of their heads.
Right, yeah, that no removals are among the conditions of approval, so if they were looking at that part of this project or sometime subsequently, they would still need to look at it, evaluate it for meeting the approval findings and as well as complying with the replacement.
Yes, okay. That's all the questions I had. Let's see if we can now, if no one else has any questions, we can move on to public comment. Anybody wish to speak on 210 Derby Avenue?
The applicant here?
The applicant wish to speak, or architect?
I didn't see that we had a raised hand. I don't know if that's related to the project, something I can.
Let's go ahead and let them in.
Diane, and we talk here.
Go ahead, Diane, are you on mute? Can't hear you.
Diane, if you still wish to speak, you're going to need to unmute yourself and let us know you're there.
Or put your hand down. All right. Let's just assume that Diane has gotten shy, and we'll move on. So any more? No one else from the public wish to comment? We will then move on to commission deliberation. Any wish to discuss this application?
Yeah, this is a good example of where the minor modification really fits, because the standard for satisfying it is much less than the variance, not governed by state law requirements and so forth, and it's a situation where a lot of parking spaces are actually 9 feet wide anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a perfect example of approving on that basis, and I support the staff recommendation.
Else?
I agree with Commissioner Newman.
Anyone wish to make a motion?
Would he like to make a motion?
Okay, I'll move approval with conditions as stated.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further deliberation? Have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Christensen. Aye. Commissioner Newman.
Aye.
Commissioner Root.
Aye.
Commissioner Westman.
Aye.
Chair Moore.
Aye. All right, motion approved. Congratulations and good luck on your project. We'll move on to item 6B, 123 Monterey Avenue. We have staff presentation.
Chair Wilk and Commissioners. First item, we've actually got three items that are related to the city program for going permanent with outdoor dining that's COVID related. So the first of these, Fort Bravo, 123 Monterey Avenue. By ordinance, there's a couple of different permits and findings that we need to have in analyzing these. The design permit, coastal development permit, and that shows you the front of the existing business, the bench and trash can are no longer there. In a two-dimensional footprint where the sidewalk dining would go here. Frontage of the building and the curb, there's a bit of a taper and a turning of the sidewalk, so the shape is not perfectly rectangular, but the taper is about 175 square feet. And I'll note also, just as additional materials, I mentioned that here, that wouldn't be any question. That's in the packet. So here's the site plan. This is that frontage. You can see the front door. 175 square foot footprint. The blue is the enclosure, so this would be a 30.5-inch fence or wall. And there's 6 seats proposed in counter style, and then 2 tops. So the other applicants that don't need to come to the commission are proposing the prototype. This one is a bit of a blend, but they did mostly pick from the prototype for dining program. These chairs and antique bronze and table are from the prototype. Umbrella as well, being red, the squares, the umbrella, table. And then the heater and string lights are also out of the prototype. The string lights deployed can actually be deployed in a pole that will be mounted to the enclosure. And a couple of custom planners pretty simple. We're recommending.
Questions?
I have a question, just because I want to make certain I understand, and I don't know if staff can answer it or if I have to wait for the designer. But on the eating area where the 6 chairs are being proposed, the way I read the plan, that's going to be a flat, level surface. There's no backboard or anything to keep like a pedestrian walking down the street to, bump into drinks that are on there or to have things slide off onto the sidewalk. Is that correct? It's just flat, there's no little raised lip or anything to keep things on there?
There is a profile view of this.
Right, and I looked at that profile view in looking at that, it seems to me that it's just, the fence comes up and then it's just flat. And you know, from purely a functional point of view, it seems like there needs to be, you know, at least a couple of inches or something higher than where the eating area is, so we don't have the problems with pedestrians bumping into stuff that's there. You know, they don't want their things sliding off forward.
Yep, it's not on the, I understand the comment is not on here, it would function as like a back.
Okay,
Above the countertop, we can ask that.
okay, thank you.
Other questions? I've got a point of clarification. Since this is public property that they are using, could you just state what our rent is for this? What the city's getting back, basically, and with that on the record?
It's, for sidewalk dining, $18 a square foot annual, so,
Thank you. Okay, those are the questions. Let's move on then to public comment. Do we have the applicant wishing to speak or anyone? Let's start with the applicant if they have an option to, or if they have any comments, and then we'll move to public. Do we have the applicant here? Would you like to go first?
Sure.
Well, could you please come to the forward to the podium and let us know what you're thinking.
They didn't realize.
Well, welcome.
I'm John Barry, and my wife and I from Colorado. And in regards to the eating surface, it would be 6 inches lower than the top of the thing.
Okay, because that really wasn't clear on the drawing that we had, so that answers my question on that. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments from the audience? Please step forward and one at a time, and we have 3 minutes. Please, could you also sign in so that on the minutes, is there a sign-in sheet, or do we forget that?
Yes, yeah.
Sometimes we forget.
So without taking up time, I'll sign in. So I live next door to El Toro Bravo. We have the tables out there for the veterans here. And so I walk that sidewalk twice a day. And it's been, I fall over by the lines there twice. And it's a very important piece of sidewalk. There's loading trucks there. There's people coming and going. There's 35 cars parked on the street. Everybody's funneling through that section of the sidewalk. And it is not a perfect taking care. I am asking the city to protect the public's right, which doesn't really have a voice, to use the sidewalk safely and comfortably. It's just, there is not room. I eat at El Toro Bravo. I live next door. I've never seen people, sometimes people. They can clean windows that open. There's lots of room to expand air in the restaurant and have air purifiers without hydrating the public's right to use a very difficult piece of over products. It's very hard to deal with. I'm not speaking from personal experience, living there and being there every day. And I think that's hard to tell from the model. So thank you for listening to my experience as a member of the.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from the public? Okay. Let's move on then to commission deliberation. I want to start on this one.
You're looking at me, yeah, I don't really have a problem with this. I think it's existed there for quite a while now, and I think this will dress it up and make it a lot nicer.
Okay, you done?
Yeah.
I don't want to cut you off. You know, I agree with the member of the public in that, you know, it's hard to give up these sidewalks because they do get very crowded and congested. You know, the city council has adopted a program where they have said that, to have this outdoor sidewalk dining, they, can do it as long as, you know, they follow a certain set of rules. And I think one of the rules is that they have to keep 5 feet of the sidewalk clear. And I know currently there's a post sort of in the middle of it, which the plans show that will be removed, so that, there will be 5 feet clear there. And I think we're ultimately going to find out that these sort of choke points in the village do create problems for us, but you know, the way the council set up the current regulations in the plan that they provided to us, conforms to those regulations. I don't see that we have, you know, any choice but to, approve it and, certainly give it a try. The one condition that I would like to add on, which, I don't think is in the staff condition, is I want to make certain that, no part of the umbrellas, encroach outside of the sort of fenced-in, lack of a better term, area. You know, we certainly want to make certain there's no pointed umbrella on any part of any of the sidewalks. So if staff could add that condition to it, then I could support the application.
Very good. Other comments?
I-
Courtney, go ahead.
I tend to think that these outdoor dining areas are going to complement the street really well, especially the storefront of El Corral Bravo. I know that it is making a pinch point, but I feel like the rest of the village, as Commissioner Westman said, is, you know, pretty slim. So, I don't have a problem.
Well, I tend to agree, or I'm sympathetic with the member of the public who also came up. I went out there and took a look at it, and I think one of the things that Commissioner Westman pointed out is that there's a little bit of a little creepage of the posts into the 5-foot area, so it seems more of a pinch point than it will be in the final design when they actually have firm boundaries and we have the firm 5 feet. I think I agree with Commissioner Westman's additional amendment or condition about the umbrellas. We don't want eyes poked out. But also, I also agree that we're just the planning commission, we're not the elected officials, and we have to go with the direction that the city council points us in. And it's been clear that they want outdoor dining. And so this is as compliant as you'd want to get. I mean, they meet the prototype requirements. They're well within the 5 feet, and we get a little bit of revenue out of it. So I don't think there's really a reason to reject this application. And I appreciate the applicant for wanting to improve their property and improve the city of Capitola's dining experience. So.
Go ahead. I just have one more little point. Could we have a condition in there that whatever colors are used gets approved by the community development director? Since they're going to paint the redwood.
I'm not going to agree with that amendment if you put it in.
You don't?
I don't.
And I agree with you.
Yeah, I don't want to restrict them that much.
I'm not restricting them. I just think, you know, we want something that's compatible with the village. But it's okay if you don't want to do it. I'm not going to live or die on that one.
Okay. Well, they did say in there, they said they were going to paint it to match. Right. That was one of their items. Is they're going to paint it to match the building.
Yellow?
Well, I don't know, but it's the idea is not to create a mural, I guess.
So, I think the color is much less important than this walkability issue, which does really concern me. I mean, Capitola has been known for its walkability, and what's happening now is making it, in a lot of places, more difficult for pedestrians. That's getting lost in the direction that the city is going, and I'm conflicted by that, because, we're losing a valuable, part of our community, as we continue to make it more and more difficult to get around on foot. But I guess I can't really justify taking it out on this applicant, since so many others are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Other deliberation?
So I reluctantly will go along with it.
Do we have a motion?
A lot of us are reluctantly going along with it.
Yeah, I move approval with the additional conditions that Commissioner Westman proposed.
Both of them?
Yes.
Is there a second? Deliberation? Well, I think she should remove her second, item, the color approval.
Sorry.
I have confidence in the planning staff that they're not going to be way restricted.
Kind of a principle to me, I think.
Okay.
So,
Give it staff discretion on a lot of different items.
well, we have a motion and a second. We've had some discussion. Let's vote on that. Should we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Christensen? Aye. Commissioner Newman?
I'm gonna vote no and wait for the next motion, which eliminates the color.
Commissioner Root?
Aye.
Commissioner Westman?
Aye.
Chair Will?
No, motion passes 3-2. You see that color? All right, congratulations. Your project has been approved. Good luck. And let's move on then to item 6C, which is 111 Capitola Avenue. And at this point, I will turn the gavel over to the vice chair, because both Commissioners Newman and myself must recuse ourselves on items C, D, and E, because of proximity conflicts.
Which is the rest of the calendar, so I guess we're gonna,
So
be leaving you.
we'll be leaving you, and good luck on your deliberations.
Do we have another meeting in December?
No, we have one in January.
I don't think we attend that one.
Well, happy holidays.
Oh, we have to start the meeting, don't we?
No, they just weren't meant. Anyway, okay, all right, well,
Happy holidays, everybody.
Bye.
Okay, so we'll keep this moving along. So the next item on our agenda is a coastal development permit, design permit, and major encroachment permit for a custom street dining deck at English Ales at 111 Capitola Avenue. Can we have the staff report?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Similar, thanks for the introduction, same permitting staff as is in the parking spaces in front of the business walk. Also part of a COVID relief measure, and is now proven to be a permanent type of installation from the building, and 2 parking spaces directly in front. And the proposal is to use the existing planters, also mix in some custom furniture, and so that's what I'm doing this evening. All entirely. So the proposed deck, this would be up curb level, or maybe a little bit above, depending on the crown of the road. And it's proposed to be dark brown Trex with a seating plan, including four tops and 2 tops that would be the 8. The table is a custom black table. And the chair is a matching black chair, but was all of it is custom with the solar LED lights on the ribs. The heater and the lights that are proposed weren't exactly out of prototype, but bike rack requirement, so there's, to offset the loss of 2 parking spaces, the code requires 2 bike spaces per space, so in this case, there's 4 total bike parking spaces are proposed, in the side of the building. This will be removing picket fence, installing 2 side-by-side bike spaces. It is the property in the photo here, that's a little smaller than it is in real life. Those look passable to have 2 be kind of in parallel to the building. Half on one side and then one concern we had is this bike rack is pretty, it doesn't look very secure. So we've added a condition that we want this permanently affixed either to the ground, that would be bolting and hardware, and maybe a footing, or to the building. Alternatively, if the applicant can't figure that out, there is an option. The existing conditions, this was the rollout during the COVID relief program. It's an opportunity to refresh this area, permanent type of tables and chairs and new umbrellas. The planter would stay the same. It would be raised to mount on top of the deck, and the proposal is to paint it to match the building. That was matching the paint with purple. With that, we're recommending approval of this design for street dining and scale.
I have a question. If the bike racks were placed side by side between the buildings, wouldn't they encroach on the adjacent property?
If they were side by side, they would, yeah.
So how else would you put 2 bike racks in there?
So, let me try to draw it in with the mouse. One set of these dual bike racks would be here. This would be the walking aisle.
So it's the walking aisle on the neighbor's property? Neighbor in agreement, or do they have opinion?
We can ask that.
Okay.
Another option would be to shorten the end of the deck by 4 or 5 feet and
Okay, any other questions of staff? I will open the public hearing, and if the applicant's here, we will allow you to speak first. And,
My name is Peter Blackmore. With regard to the color first, let me explain why the colors are what they currently are. So we're sending the colorblind person to the store to match color, and that's being me. And I have the original colors from the building. We can match those up perfectly. In regards to the part of the bicycle rack, spoke with the lady who owns the building.
okay. Any other questions for the applicant?
Just maybe the tripping hazard, because I know when we talked about the prototype designs, they were supposed to be flush with the sidewalk, so there was no tripping hazard. I'm curious at how you're going to mitigate that. Yeah, what, 2.5 inches?
About 2.5 inches, and there'll be a ramp of 120, a small ramp that goes up. But then the railing, the roads, substantial part of that, they will be on the front, and the only part that will be accessible by foot will be through the ramp, and the ramp will come down to the height of the curb.
So the rope extension will be there all the time?
Yes.
Why not a more permanent type rail? Pardon?
I'd love to do it. But again, I would love to do it. It'd be much better than the extension, but I went with the recommended. I can certainly put it.
When was that staff recommended?
We didn't consider the tripping hazard.
Was for the road? Staff recommended that?
The applicants were both in the prototype.
Okay.
I think it was one whatever, the prototype sent me in that. If I can put a lower rail.
So can I ask you why you didn't go along with the prototype?
Anyway,
Like using the concrete planters to provide some protection for the people sitting there and
rails. Might beef those up a bit. The planters are contained within plastic planting units that sit on in there. That's the one that beef up the planters. I can always pour rock in there, maybe up to about 2 feet. By the way, you have to buy a new one.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who would like to speak on this application? Anyone on Zoom who would like to speak on this one?
No hands are.
Okay. So I guess we will bring it back to the commission for deliberation.
Like me to start?
Sure.
Yeah. This will get approved either at this body or or at the city council if this body doesn't approve it and it's appealed. But I opposed parklets along Capitola Avenue when they were first proposed and the city decided to make it an allowable policy. And I still oppose that. I think that's not the proper place for parklets along that thoroughfare. I think it detracts from the streetscape, and I don't think it's particularly safe. And to me, it just kind of detracts from the village character because they look like they've just been tacked on. To me, they look kind of tacky down there. So I'm not going to support this application because of that. And, you know, perhaps if it doesn't fly with this body, the applicant can appeal to the council, or I'm sure will probably be approved. But I don't believe we should be putting those parklets on Capitola Avenue.
I think that they don't, I think they enhance the streetscape if they're done and maintained well. I think that the deck, making it level with the sidewalk, decreases the tacked on feeling. I do have to say that I would like them to be attractive as possible. And I think that your parklet right now is attractive. And maybe it's even being purple, it's nice and but I don't think that it detracts from the cityscape. I think it enhances it. And people walking, it makes it feel like more of a village experience. You're going to sit and have a nice beer in a cafe or a sandwich or something. So I support the parklets. I support this application. I think that I would like to see a consistent streetscape that kind of goes with our prototype, but I kind of feel like there's, businesses want to make their feelings unique. So if that's the case, then I think that I don't have much of a problem. Yeah.
Well, when this whole thing started with COVID, I thought the city did an excellent job of responding to the businesses, because there was a huge need right at that time to give the businesses some opportunity to have a place to do business, because the state basically closed down their indoor dining space. So we were all, willing to see whatever went up go up, as long as it could function and be used. For me, we're sort of entering a different phase right now. And that new phase is that we are looking at adding some outdoor dining opportunities in the village, and we wanted to make certain that they were attractive, that they were safe, and that they were going to be a nice complement to what goes on in the village. I agree with Commissioner Ruth. I was very opposed to having them on Capitol Avenue. And when we went through the process of doing our prototype design, one of the things that we came up with was using the concrete planters and other things to make it safer for the people who are going to be sitting out there in the streets. And so I felt that having that prototype design might make it tolerable to have them there if that was followed. And I never envisioned that when we talked about allowing, deviations from the prototype design, that we were going to have people come up with things that were completely different. I thought more they were going to use the prototype design and perhaps enhance it in some ways. They had some artistic feature they wanted to add to it, but it was going to be consistent with the theme in the village. When we do things like park benches or street furniture, as we refer to it, we have always in the past had some continuity and consistency with that development. It's hard for me to support this application the way it's being presented right now, as I said, because I thought that at least with the prototype design, some of the safety issues were going to be dealt with. It's hard for me to support it with a deck that's not flush to the sidewalk, because I agree with Commissioner Christensen. It makes it look like it's sort of an add-on there. I do think it is a trip hazard. There's going to be a number of times when that facility is going to be there and they're not going to be operating it as a restaurant. I have to say I was pretty disappointed in the plans that got presented to us by staff to make these decisions on these projects, because I thought the plans were actually inadequate to answer all of our questions. In our prototype design, we require a clearance from the sidewalk, the curb area, to the deck where there's going to be drainage going on. And it's hard to tell from this plan if any of those things are going to take place. So for me, at this point, I don't think I could vote in favor of the particular program that's been proposed. And I agree with Commissioner Ruth. The applicant will have the opportunity to go to the council. They may get a different, answer from them. But there would have to be a lot of improvement done to this design to get me to support it.
Yeah, I would encourage, because it's likely this is going to the council, it sounds that way, that the council hold the design to the prototype design. And if we could include that in the minutes so the council could see that. And I think it would benefit the applicant to do that also.
Right. I think the prototype design would provide some security for the applicant, for the people who are living there, for the cars that are driving by it. You know, this is going on public property, so whatever happens there is gonna be a liability to the city, no matter, you know, what disclaimers are adopted or said, so, I agree with that comment. So, somebody wanna make a motion?
I would move that the application be denied.
Okay. Courtney's not gonna second it. So I'll second that. And can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Christensen,
Aye.
Commissioner Root,
No.
Commissioner Weston.
Well,
Or,
wait a
I'm
minute.
sorry, aye.
Yeah, it was a motion to.
To deny.
To deny it, so do you want to
No,
Yeah.
thank you.
You confuse me. Aye.
I'll go ahead and start over.
Okay.
Commissioner Christensen,
No.
Commissioner Root,
Aye.
Commissioner Weston.
Aye. Okay, so our next application is going to be for 311 Capitola Avenue. It is a coastal development permit, design permit, and major improvement permit for a custom street dining deck for Reef Dog Deli at 311 Capitola Avenue. And can we have a staff report?
Thank you. So, same as the prior application, this is a design permit, coastal development permit, major encroachment, deck, in mixed-use village zone. Onto the Reef Dog Deli, their frontage, only faces one parking space, it's a single, looking to install their deck. This also was used during COVID. Roll out permanent. Also proposing a track deck. And total seats, all two tops, and to use their existing furniture, which is powder coated steel, yellow here on top of the metallic brass, and to reuse their wood clad painters. As well as the umbrellas, this is also custom, the umbrellas that are there. And they are proposing a prototype for the bike parking, so this will give you an inverted view. They only need two parking spaces, so the prototype only has one option here. And they are proposing the string lights out of the prototype as well as heater. They would not need a rope expansion though, because there is. With that, we are also recommending approval of any deck for Reef Dog.
Any of you have any questions for staff?
So they are proposing a deck, not the lawn.
Correct, yeah, the tracks, yeah.
Right.
They are showing a little more detail as well with the hatch. There's a storm drain inlet at the front.
I have a quick staff question, just so, again, I understand this drawing that was submitted to us. So they're proposing to have their bicycle parking outside of the parking space, because there's an area between where this parking space ends in a driveway. So,
And there's a little remainder space between the curb cut and the end of the.
and did we get, comments from Public Works about this particular storm drain?
Public Works did go to the property and advised that a hatch would be needed.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the public part of this item. Is the applicant here, would you like to speak on behalf of your application?
I'm aware that the applicant is not going to take it.
Well, if the applicant's not here, is there anyone from the public, general public, who would like to comment on this application? Okay, seeing no one, we'll bring it back to the commission for deliberation.
Yeah, my comments are exactly the same as the previous application. I do like the bike rack better, though.
I'm not saying that I'm changing my opinion. My impression of the prototype is that people, like you said, were gonna fall in line with our feedback and what we kind of wanted our cityscape to look like. And then, I kept hearing, that everybody wanted this unique application based on Capitola's unique qualities. And so, considering, the importance of the businesses in the city, listening to that feedback was important. But also, I really feel cityscape is equally as important. So, like you mentioned, Commissioner Upton, that having consistency across the board is, in my own opinion, I don't like the wood, and I just want the concrete because it's consistent and it makes a nice cityscape. It makes it, you start at one end, you understand what's happening at the other. It doesn't create a lot of objectivity. Like I said, I'm not trying to change my opinion about this outdoor dining. I enjoy outdoor dining. I think it's a great complement for the restaurants around there. I don't have any problems with the furniture. It's just the surround. And, same goes for English ales, honestly, but I just felt that supporting the business was, just wanted to pay respect to that. So, leaning towards it. Commissioner, but you made it, okay,
Yeah.
well, I have a couple of additional comments, and I'll ask staff some of these questions. One of the main concerns I have about this particular application is that storm drain, because while we have had droughts for the last 5 or 6 years, the business next door at 309, which at one time was a laundromat, it's been some other things, routinely floods in normal winters because there's a tremendous amount of water that comes down Capitola Avenue if we have, a regular amount of rainfall. So I had some, concerns about this going over that storm drain. Again, this plan doesn't give us any detail about what's going to go on, from the edge of where the Trex deck is going to go in and the curb, how that flow is going to work, which we had in our sort of prototype design because we had recognized that was going to be an issue. And I even wonder if this is a deck area that it would be more appropriate to move it in the direction of where the driveway is, so you could actually have it so the deck is not over the storm drain itself. But since the applicant's not here, that's not really an idea that we can discuss. I again also have some concern about, the plans and trying to figure out what was going on from the plans themselves. And I could pull out my phone because I went down there and I took a picture of their yellow furniture in a couple of the tables, and they're in pretty bad shape. They're all nicked up and chipped and dented. So I didn't know if, the applicant was proposing to have those all redone, but use, sort of the original furniture or what was going to go on there. And again, I agree with Commissioner Christensen. I think that we want to support the businesses in the village. And I think for us as a planning commission, one of the ways we support them is being consistent with our rules and regulations. The rules and regulations need to be transparent. Our staff needs to work with the businesses. But we need to treat everyone the same. It doesn't make any difference if someone's a real nice person or someone's not a nice person. It's, you know, interpreting the rules and making certain that everyone is treated the same way. So again, with this application, it's hard for me to support it. I don't think it follows sort of, you know, the spirit when we adopted the program and developed the prototype for these outdoor dining areas. I'm not saying I object to outdoor dining, though I, again, don't think we should have them on Capitol Avenue, but that's a decision that the council's already made, so I don't get to override that. But I can't support this particular application. So I'll wait for a motion.
I would move the application be denied.
I'll second. We have a motion and second. Can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Christensen? Aye. Commissioner Root?
Aye.
Commissioner Weston?
Aye. Okay, so our next application, let me find my agenda here, is for, sorry about this, I usually don't do this. The next application is for 401 Capitol Avenue. It's a conditional use permit, parking variance, and coastal development permit to establish a restaurant that serves beer and wine with no on-site parking in the MUN Mixed Neighborhood Zoning District. We have a staff presentation.
Thank you for that intro and the description of the permits being requested. This property is 401 Avenue, is in the mixed-use neighborhood. We've got a photo here. Just across the street and down towards the beach and Trestle. That report gets into a lot about context and adjacencies in the neighborhood, so I wanted to show another slide showing the immediate surroundings and the mix of land uses that are immediately adjacent to the property. We've got mixed-use neighborhood up Capitol Avenue and professional office. We've got the fire district next door, festival and train, and city hall are included as facilities. The boundary there is the village zoning boundary is the commercial, the dog we just reviewed actually. Mixed-use village residential up far away, and then R1 district and review. View of the building, background, 1265 building, somewhat recently constructed, completed in 2015. And adding to that background, Planning Commission approved in 2014 new building, includes setback and parking variances, parking variance for 4 spaces with that application. Also had a development permit. The original use was retail. In 2019, there was a change of use that came before the Planning Commission to change out the retail use with a takeout restaurant with 6 seats. And then the current proposal, a little more detail, there's 26 seats proposed in the modified floor plan, and there's an expanded area in currently customer space. So looking at the floor plan, I'm going to use the mouse to point at a few things. We've got the double door entry. Again, so this is the customer area. We've got the sales counter, restroom. There are stairs to the loft space, and then this is the existing kitchen, equipped with a hand wash sink, cut sink, a 3-compartment sink, a dishwasher, and a mop sink, and then this is a walk-in cooler where the beverages are sold for. This is the proposed plan, so you can see the seating, 13 seats inside, 13 on the front porch. And then the highlighted in green area is the new bar, counter, area. And I'll note, there's 20 taps on the wall facing the front door and 12 on, facing the sales counter for a total of 30. So, looking at all of the entitlements, both a restaurant and alcohol sales require a CUP in a mixed-use neighborhood. Parking variance, mentioned there already was a parking variance for 4 spaces. It requires that we analyze only the increased intensity of this use. So overall, it would require 11 spaces, however, they get the credit of the 4 existing spaces. So the request before you is a variance for 7. And it is in the coastal zone, so coastal development permit requires us to analyze impacts to coastal. A little deeper into the use permit. So this is a discretionary review. Findings focus on consistency with the general plan and the local coastal program. This is something where we look to context, surroundings, adjacencies. Our analysis took us, this is more of a qualitative type review, quantitative. There's nothing measurable in the code that analyzing use permit applications. So we're looking at purpose sections, we're looking at the general plan, and specifically, we found 3 general plan sections that talk about intensity and scale, tap system, and the proposal for line, which is taps, this location. That's 1 tap per 14 square feet of customer area. So it's just, it's on a scale that appeared to be kind of more of a beverage first and food as an accompaniment rather than food first and beverage. Also in a transitional area that talks a lot about not being so focused on visitor serving and lively activities to be transitioning into more residential. And the general plan also talks about what is the lower parking in the neighborhoods. And one of the hinge points in this application is that they provide no parking. Parking is time on offsite parking. That leads me to the parking variance. Again, this is discretionary. This one's really straightforward evaluation because variances are supposed to be a remedy to the inherent hardship of the property and not granting special privilege. In 2014, the commission struck that balance. Property does have some the opportunity to take the variance and operate at the intensification is not predicated on an established right or remedy to some inherent property condition. Coastal development permit. So this is an evaluation of impacts to coastal resources. 2 big prongs here are environmental and habitat protection as well as anti-gravity surveying. So when we're looking at the local coastal program, the very first policy talks about how consideration of development should be. We're not able to make findings for coastal development and parking and visitor serving and coastal access are all equal. Project has an impact on those available resources without we have just other information. The staff report is pretty detailed, but the applicant is running a parallel permitting process with ABC. 541 license, and the 541 license requires that a business be a bona fide restaurant and a light kitchen. And it's supposed to be a meal serving establishment first with an accompaniment of beverage. We really struggled with thinking that is this application, this is not something that really weighed into our findings. Put in the staff report because we like they're going to have a problem ultimately with ABC and use requirements and talk to representatives. You know, the applicant has a different takeaway of their discussions with ABC, but my take, even as proposed, wasn't. You know, we certainly don't want to be in this position, coming this far down the line, denial across the board for an applicant. I also want to disclose that we sat down with the applicant twice, or early on before we really got into spending too much on it. Encouraging the applicant to take a different path. This is positive because we early on we're able to get full disclosure and the applicant right. As far as communications, we have 3 letters. These are in your packet, 3 letters of opposition. The applicant provided 2 letters stating their intent for the application. The most recent one has a number of statements and signatures of support, and today. And so again, we were not able to meet the findings for the variance, the use permit, or personal development permit, and
is the applicant here, or, excuse me, would anybody like to ask the staff any questions? Is the applicant here? This is your opportunity to speak.
Applicant is wondering if she can feed her 3 minutes to me, or is that something that you would allow?
You're going to speak on her behalf for 3 minutes?
Yes, and I was wondering if she could tack on her 3 minutes to mine.
We typically don't do that. How about we give you 5 minutes?
That's very generous, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. My name is Amy Chang. I'm the owner of the business. Thanks for the staff for introduction. And I have a lot of supporters here. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Commissioners, for your time, and thank you to the staff for all the time I know you spent. Amy fell in love with Capitola in 2019. In fact, she thought that was a house she could live in initially when she saw it, but when she realized it was a business, she bought it anyway. And she's so proud to be a small business owner and a place where community can gather. COVID and the economy have hit everybody hard, and she operates in the red every month. Her business is akin to a family-friendly juice bar with taps for self-service of coffee and kombucha. That's why it looks beverage heavy. That's how it is right now. It's a beverage establishment. She hopes that by adding food, beer, wine, and seats, it will enable customers to stay a little longer, spend a little more, and help her sustain her business here. The proposed business will close at 8 p.m. Alcoholic drinks are strictly limited by technology to 2 per adult. It will still be family-friendly. Children will be sitting with their parents. It is a light, bright environment. It is not a dark bar or restaurant or a full bar where people stay for hours and heavy drinking happens. It is not 32 taps of alcohol. It's 16 taps that were going to be designated for beer and wine, and the other taps are the kombucha and the coffee. The staff report lays out the findings you have to make A through E and says they cannot be made, and it boils down really to parking and alcohol. Finding A, this use is allowed in the NUN zone. The staff report says it's allowed, restaurant with beer and wine. The issue is the parking. With regard to parking and B, C, and E all contain parking in the findings. This project is actually consistent with the general plan and the local coastal program. The policy that staff references, 1.1, states that development intensity will be limited to the availability of parking and other alternative transportation systems, such as the shuttle bus and remote parking. There's no period after the word parking. It's not mandated that Amy has to be able to pour concrete and build 7 parking spots. Policy 1.1 states it's limited to the availability of parking and other alternative transportation systems, such as shuttle bus and remote parking. So it contemplates the big public parking lots that are right behind here. that are rarely full in all my years of coming to Capitola, even in the summer, and especially not nights and off-season. It contemplates alternative transportation such as shuttle bus, remote parking even farther away, and I would submit public transportation and ride shares like Lyft and Uber, all of which are increasing in prominence and necessity in our state. Further, Amy will be adding bicycle parking. Therefore, we believe the Planning Commission can make the finding that this use is consistent with the general plan and the local coastal program and grant the parking variance. Regarding D and the aspects in B and C of the findings, which involve compatibility and public health and safety, this property is right on the edge of MUV. And 43 of the cited 60 residents around Amy are in MUV, not MUN. It has the look and feel with the trestle and the fire station and the police department and the businesses. It has the look and feel of MUV. So in terms of compatibility with character, look, and feel, it is not an incompatible or use. Public safety can't get any safer than being across from the police and next to the fire department, and it is not tucked away in a quiet pocket of a neighborhood. It's not going to be noise impact, drinking impact. It's not that kind of business. The issue of the kitchen and the ABC is not for this commission to decide. That's a hurdle for Amy to meet if you pass her project on. And she'll have to meet that with that. Granting a variance requires unusual circumstances with inherent hardship. This property has those unusual circumstances. It had them in 2014 with the prior owner. That's why the parking variance was granted then. There's no room to build parking. This different use isn't, you shouldn't punish Amy and say, well, you have the parking variance once. It's still unusual circumstances with hardship. She can't add parking to where she is. Therefore, the topography that doesn't allow for the construction of parking on site should be used as the basis for your ability to grant this variance. It would be inconsistent to have granted it in 2014 and not today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Anybody have any questions for the applicant? Is there anyone else in the public who would like to speak on this application? Then come up to the podium, sign in. You'll have 3 minutes. No, just your name, that's fine, thank you.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Burns, and I live in an apartment, so I walk by Amy's establishment every single day with my dog. We go by down by the creek, so I don't think I missed a day walking by there that she's supposed to. I can see what goes on in there, because I stopped by to say hi. It's a beautiful, open place. I've seen a lot of people come in that have asked for beer. All the people that come in are coming down the sidewalk on the other side, usually to that crosswalk and crossing over. They've already parked in the parking lot. It's not like any place to the destination. It's more like a discovery. They walk down, they see beautiful buildings, they go across, and a lot of them are asking for beer, because I see it, I hear it, because I go in and just say hi, and my dog is allowed in right now. I do see a lot of locals walking in also, and so it's really neat, because I think it would be a really place for neighbors to meet and just say hi and, you know, have a bite to eat. I know that she has some great ideas about food that she mentioned. Her preferences. And I know that she has the taps that comes and drinks, because there's the card that goes in. And no one would be able to have more than 2 drinks. Not to I mean, the people that I've seen come in, their families, they have their babies, their strollers, tourists. Today I saw someone from England, and, they're very, very calm people. It's not like, I know in the past they said up that it was a bar and lounge. In fact, the letters that were in opposition were written when notice came out that it was a bar and lounge. And the notice was posted out in front. And she didn't want to be a bar and lounge. She wanted to be a restaurant. So those letters shouldn't even count. It was before she got the designation restaurant with wine and beer, not a lounge and a bar. But as far as disturbing the neighborhood across the street is, well, there's the street, and then across from it is a hill with some trees. To the right is the trestle. The right is the fire department with parking. Behind, she's not even going to use the side, so there would not be disturbing. There's only one house back there.
Thank you very much for your
I
comment.
mean, I think it's a beautiful building. I know Amy is a beautiful person.
Your time is up at this point. Thank you.
Very hard worker too.
Thank you, Justin.
Please, come up and speak.
Hi, I'm Mario Beltramo. I live in Riverview Terrace. I oftentimes will walk up and down Capitol Avenue and speak with Amy and notice how her business is being run. And I can't help but have commented to her, I really hope that you'll be able to have the Planning Commission approve this application to allow you to serve alcohol beverages and also to become a restaurant, because she is the type of business person, and this is the type of business I think that this town wants. This is a great location. It's close. It's very close to the police department and the fire department. I agree with the comments made by her representative. Nothing bad is going to happen in this area here from an alcoholic standpoint, so I don't think we have to worry about that. I think allowing her the opportunity to succeed, which you have, is fundamentally associated with the necessity of allowing her to have alcohol and allowing her to have the additional seating capacity that she's requested and that the property will allow. The parking, there's ample parking and public parking, both the lower and the upper parking lots, which are very seldom full to capacity and are easy walking distance. So I really hope that the commission will take those things into account and will recognize and approve of this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience? Go ahead and come up.
Hi, my name is Russ Rogers, and I've lived in the community for 8 years now, in the area for 35. Met Amy this past summer out on the beach, and have since visited her place several times. I am not an alcohol drinker, but I do know that with relationship to businesses that offer food and beverages, alcohol is a key proponent to making a lasting business, making a business last, because it's a place of community. And Capitola is about community, and Amy is about community. I would like to see not only her to get this license for the alcohol, but also for, eventual for restaurant use. And I think that this would be a great opportunity for not only Amy to be able to get this, but also for our community, for all of us to be there and to participate in her restaurant and to see this happen. So I would love to see this happen for Angie. Thank you.
Thank you. You could go ahead and come up while he's writing in his name.
My name's Leonard Peckett. I don't know Amy very well, but I know her, she's kind of been around. And it just seems like her business that she's saying is clean compared to a lot of the, well, clean town, but some of the other bars and stuff closer to the beaches and stuff, attract a different crowd. It's a different scene, what she's got, what she's putting on. Food, beverage, seems to be the right thing in this place. And then, to have her come this far for this long and to be denied a little bit, another step further to make everything complete for her, it seems, it's unfair, but it just, I don't see how she can come this far and then be denied, what she wants to do. Parking's there, everything seems to be in the right place, it's just, I think that step further so she can continue with us. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead. Evening.
My name is Susan Wayne, so I met Amy actually right before COVID started, when I bike down. And we bike down quite frequently down to the beach. And this is when she was just setting up, and I was really welcoming the business and have a difference there compared to some of the other business. It's very open, it's very clean, it's very welcoming. And it's at a location where I think it brings other business to that particular spot, where normally there's not a lot of business around there or walkability, because most of the business is more down on the beach. So, and then COVID hit, and I was surprised because every time when I bike down, I was like, oh, it's not open because of COVID. She didn't have the sitting capability. And I was like wondering, like, is she going to stay open at all? Because it's a hard time for everybody during COVID. And I was just thinking it's hard to have a business like that and not be open, not have customers. And now, because even back then, she had plans for this, for her business, is to eventually to include food and alcohol. And it would brought in a mix of different people, meaning not just people who, coming over the juice bar. So, when I heard that she's having this permanent issue where this is like the next step that could really propel the business and she's getting held back for it, specifically for the parking, I don't feel that's an issue because the parking lot is really right close to her. And there's a lot of foot traffic, people park elsewhere, people walk around. You don't necessarily park right in front, you just go to one place. And most people who go down to Capitola, they could be parking other places where they do the foot traffic. So I don't think parking is an issue. And I think it's going to be really hard for the business if she's not going to be able to have the alcohol license, able to serve food, that she's probably not going to be able to have that business much longer, given the economy the way it is for the COVID. And I feel like Capitola is a place where we want to welcome business to flourish and bring tourists, bring other people to enjoy our city. So I feel, with that in mind, I don't think not having the, with that in mind, I think the permit is very critical to her survival of this business. And I think the parking's not going to be an issue, so.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak?
evening.
Good evening.
I wanted to point out that the traffic coming to Amy is foot traffic and bicycle traffic. That is what I have observed. It's not somewhere where people are actually driving to go there. People are simply walking through the village and then saying, oh, look at this pretty, and going inside. And there is an area on the side of her business building and a trestle, a grassy area, where there is already a bike rack for 2 bicycles. There's 2 and 4. So I would like to suggest to the commission that perhaps parking areas could be made into some sort of a parking conversion by requiring a certain amount of bicycle parking rather than automobile parking. This will actually serve the parking traffic going to Amy's business better than automobile parking. For people to park their bicycles and their surfboards, that is the sort of traffic that's going to the business, and that's what will accommodate business. Business itself is immaculate, very clean, and have no concerns whatsoever about food being served there. That the way in which
go ahead. What's her name? Rob, you said we've got the power. That's that 4-year-old again. She's still.
I'm going to interrupt you one moment. We seem to have voices coming out of. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay, so as far as the alcohol goes, Amy's background is in food and nutrition. And she's serving kombucha as a health drink, fermented tea. I'm primarily interested in adding alcoholic kombucha back. And there will be no expansion of this tap. I would simply reiterate that the business is and it is very friendly to foot and bicycle traffic.
Anyone else? Your turn, your time. Okay, do we have anyone on Zoom?
We have 2. I'm just gonna go in order that they're listed here. So first will be Diane, just a moment. Is a first name of Diane, you're unmuted, you can talk.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I was hoping I would be able to speak first as the applicant, but somehow that didn't happen. So I think there's 2 issues here. I tried to help Amy out doing this site plan and the floor plan. And I think the parking issue is one that could, if not should, be approved. I think it was short-sighted to let her open a facility with only 5 spaces to be served, which is like the tables in the front of her restaurant. She isn't allowed to do any seating inside. So I believe that the parking variance could, if not should, be approved, just as has been done up the street in the same zone, Capitola Avenue, before the pandemic, had 20 spaces inside. They now have 20 spaces inside. They have 20 spaces outside. They also serve alcohol, but that's not the issue I'm talking about. So I think the parking, to let her have a variance to the 8 required spaces to do the use she wants. I'm not talking about the beer and alcohol. I'm talking about the use she wants to expand her food service, be it sandwiches, so that she can run her business and hopefully make it a success. I think you might consider them as 2 issues. The beer and wine issue, I think she's spoken to and other people have, but I just happen to believe the parking is justified because of the location, not the rest of the use permit per se. That's it.
Thank you.
Next, we have Amy Belk. You are unmuted.
Hi there. Yeah, I'd just like to speak in favor of the proposal. I've found myself I'm a new resident in Aptos Hills, well, new as in a year ago, and I found myself in Capitola for a couple of different reasons. And I've wandered by Amy's place, and I stopped by with my daughter one day and grabbed some kombucha, and it was very nice. And that was when I got to know her, and that she was applying for, to do food and similar. And then I stopped by another time after visiting the DMV to get my motorcycle license. So, I think it's a great little spot for each time. By the way, I parked in the public lot that's behind I think it's behind the police station, or anyway, it's a bit further up the road. So you sort of naturally walk by on the way to the beach. That was where we were going with my daughter. I was going to the beach. So I think it's a really natural spot to want to stop by on the way to the beach and just grab a bite or grab a little drink before you get to the beach. The other thing I wanted to mention is somebody else earlier had mentioned bicycle parking, and I've noticed both in Santa Cruz and in Capitola, electric bikes have got really, really super popular. And, I think we as a population should be encouraging people to use that mode of transport. And obviously the parking requirements for electric bikes are similar to those of regular bikes. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We have anyone else?
All for Zoom hands raised.
Okay. So seeing no one else in the audience who wants to speak, or no one else on Zoom, we'll bring it back to the commission for our discussion and deliberation.
We'll defer to Courtney to start.
Okay. Courtney's turn.
Look this over. I've seen this building since it was built. I've seen applications for this building in the past, and I think the biggest issue I see is that going through the application, I have an issue with the completeness, to be honest. And I fully support the business that you want to run. I want to see the kitchen just seems a little pieced together, and I'm just wondering how to support a variance when we're comparing the Avenue Cafe down the street, when they have a full-fledged food service and beer and wine. I want to support having a beer and wine license in this location. I think that's actually a great use of this building. I think I don't even have really a problem with the seating. It's just the haphazard nature that the plan is put together and the business plan is put together. I don't really know like what food you're serving necessarily, and it's just hard to support. Yes, I know it's in the staff report. I read the staff report. I read the business plan as well. Where I would like to start at least.
I think you hit one aspect on the head where it's just kind of nebulous what the term restaurant's going to mean in this case, because we don't know what kind of food you're serving, we don't know how extensive it's going to be, and that kind of leaves us kind of without a lot of direction in that regard. Amy, I feel for you because that's a difficult spot. It's not in the village and it's not in the upper village. It's kind of caught right in the middle. I'm familiar with that spot because the house that used to be there, I lived there for a couple of years. So someone mentioned that it's not a destination per se. When people come to Capitola, that's not a destination. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find more than a handful of businesses down there that are an actual destination that people come to. Capitola is the destination. And so my concern is if we allow an intensification of use, we've set a precedent for other businesses to do that also. And that just attracts more people to the village and creates a bigger parking problem. And we can't resolve that. So that's one of my concerns. You know, I think that site, like I said, it's a difficult site. It's probably more suited to retail, which is also probably difficult there, or a vacation rental if it were converted into a home. I just personally feel that it's difficult for me to overcome all these issues that it has with the LCP, the zoning ordinance, and our general plan. And I just don't feel like I can overrule those things because the city spent a lot of time and effort, the community did, the people that live here did, developing those documents. And if we start overruling and setting precedents for intensifications of uses without requiring the additional parking, I think we're just going down a bad path.
For me, I agree a lot with Commissioner Wood. There are a number of great businesses in Capitola and Capitola Village. And some of those businesses would also like to expand or add alcohol or, you know, turn a retail space into a restaurant. And they can't do that because of parking requirements. And to make a variance, as Commissioner Newman mentioned, you know, those standards are outlined in state law. It's not that you can give a variance because you like someone or you think they have a great business idea or, you know, it's something that you want to have happen. So for me, the first hurdle I come to is I don't see how we can make findings to grant a parking variance. And, you know, you do have a great building and a great facility, and, you know, it's my hope, you know, you open the business knowing what kind of business you could have there and what the rules were as the number of tables and seating and how it was going to work. And I feel bad for you that your business plan has not worked out for you, but you know, we need to follow and look at the big picture for our entire community. And whenever I get in these kind of places, I actually did pull out our general plan today and look at that. And, you know, we looked at the local coastal plan, and because those are really the guiding documents for development to take place in Capitola Village. And, you know, there's no way that we can make findings for a variance, in my opinion. You know, people bring up the Avenue restaurant. That restaurant has been there for at least 40 years, if not longer. So it was developed under a completely different set of standards at the time, as are many of the businesses in the village. There was a time in the 60s when Capitola was almost completely deserted and half empty because the beach went away. And so, you know, things happened then, and you can't compare what happened then to what the rules and the regulations are now. I mean, we've had 3 new general plans since the Avenue was put in place. We've completely redone our zoning ordinance and our rules. So as much as, you know, we may personally want to, you know, help you out, we have to follow the rules that are in place. That's our job as planning commissioners. And so for me, you know, the alcohol use and that aside, I couldn't come up with a basis for granting a parking variance to allow this to be converted to a restaurant. Those are my comments. So again, do we want to have a motion?
Is there a way you could continue this item to make it so she could revise it, so she doesn't have to go straight to just a firm denial?
could deny it without prejudice, so she could bring it back.
Yeah.
And given the chance to revise, and if there
Give the applicant an opportunity to voluntarily continue. You have a complete application and the applicant. So it would be
Okay, I can't make the motion.
Okay.
Sorry.
I would move that based on the inability to make the findings that would allow us to approve this, that the application has to be denied.
a second.
Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Christensen? Commissioner Root?
Aye.
Commissioner Westley?
Aye. Thank you very much, and good luck in the future. All right, moving on the agenda. The next item is commission communication. Do we have any communications from any commissioner? No? And so...
Is this my last meeting, or do I come to the next meeting and when the new commissioners start?
I thought that you came to the next meeting
That's what I thought.
because we have to open the meeting with the old commissioners.
Yeah, that's my
And the
impression.
new commissioners get sworn in, and the old commissioners who aren't reappointed leave.
Okay.
That's how I think it works. Are you serious?
Well, I was just gonna give my swan song now, then I'll save it.
So you can come back, we get to do it one more
Yeah.
time. Maybe we ought to have a going away party for the people who are leaving. I'll go out and have drinks afterwards or something. I appreciate everybody's comments tonight, it wasn't an easy one. Thank you, Don.
to adjourn our.
We're
Are we
adjourned.
adjourned?